What's up, Eagles fans? It's your boy EROCK, and I know what you're thinking. Well, this looks a little different, and you're exactly right. This video is going to be a little different because it's a little bit different of a circumstance. Normally, and you guys have known me for years. Usually, I'm making videos with the jump shots and the pictures, and sometimes in front of a green screen. And you know what? That's not going to be one of these videos. The only way I'm stopping this little camera right here if I lose my train of thought, which might happen because it might get a little rambly at times. And I'm used to being outside and doing these things in scenic little areas around Philadelphia, sometimes in front of the stadium, but no, not this time. This time I'm at my house because once again, this is a little bit different of a situation. And unlike a lot of my videos, this one might run a little bit long. So you might want to strap in, but I promise you it'll be certainly worth your while, because what I want to do right now, and you know, you've heard the news. I'm not breaking any news. DeSean Jackson has been released by the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a big decision, and it's been a whirlwind leading up to this point. But I certainly want to shed a little bit of light on this issue, and some of what I'm about to tell you is fact. Some of what I'm about to tell you is opinion. And sometimes the opinions are going to look like facts, and sometimes the facts are going to look like opinions, but hey, that's up to you to decide. So, let's get started. And the easiest way to start this off, I think, is by highlighting the fact that, over the last week and a half, couple weeks, I don't know, it seemed like forever at this point, a lot of people have been having their blinders on, just focusing solely on what they read. The lines, the words, the text. But sometimes it's the space in between the lines that hold the answer. Sometimes it's the space between the lines that mean the most. So one of the themes of this video is going to be, let's read between the lines. Week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, again, I can't remember, Derek Gunn comes out with a report that the Eagles are looking to move on, trade away DeSean Jackson. And he names an unnamed source. Now, whoever that source may be, I know the source was good. I know this for a fact. How do I know? Because I heard about the Eagles moving away from DeSean 3 days before Derek Gunn ever broke the story, without even knowing that Derek Gunn was going to be the one to break the story. So I know his source was good, even though that some people did not want to believe an unnamed source. Now, this unnamed source, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty convinced that the unnamed source was within the organization. Because look, when you have a decision of this magnitude, and this was this was a big one, you can't just all of a sudden just let it out there. Boom, you're driving home from work one day, you listen to Mikey Miss or whatever idiot they got from Houston now on WIP, and all of a sudden they say, hey, the Eagles cut DeSean Jackson. You will have people flying off the Ben Franklin Bridge. You'll have people swerving off the Walt Whitman. You're going to have people grabbing their pitchforks and torches and storming the NovaCare complex. So when you have a decision of this magnitude, you need to let a little air out of the balloon, you know what I mean? Kind of need to throw it out there just to get that initial negative wave from the fan base and the media. Just get that out of the way. So then after Derek Gunn breaks the story wide open that the Eagles are looking to move on from DeSean Jackson, the Eagles had every single opportunity to refute the report. To refute it, to say, nah, this is not true. Come on. We're not. It's DeSean. We're not moving on from DeSean. But they didn't. Excuse me. But they didn't. Don't you find it funny how when last year's draft came up and, Andy went to Kansas City and Chip comes in and he's into this mobile quarterback stuff, which there's some truth to. And everyone had those questions about Nick Foles. Is Nick Foles going to be an Eagle? Are you going to look to move Nick Foles? What did the Eagles come out right away and say? No, Nick Foles is our guy. Nick Foles is a Philadelphia Eagle. We want him here. Right? That's what they said about Nick. Came right out and said it. When the whole thing went down with Riley Cooper last summer, and he said what he said, which is completely inexcusable. But I'll get to that a little later. When Riley Cooper came out and said what he said and was genuinely sorry and had that press conference, what did the Eagles do? We're going to get Riley help because he's our guy and we want him here. So you had Nick Foles and Riley Cooper, and they said what they had to say. DeSean Jackson, crickets. They didn't say nothing. They had every single opportunity to refute that report, and they did not. Why? Again, read between the lines. And Eagles fans were upset. Naturally, this is their number one wide receiver. This is a guy coming off of a career year. Second in all-time receiving yards in a single season by an Eagles wide receiver. Why would you get rid of him? Why? I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. I mean, what are you going to do? Get rid of this guy because he's posting Instagram photos? I mean, come on. Between me and you. You really think a player gets cut because he's posting Instagram photos like I've been having to hear all week? Nah. Doesn't make any sense, right? It's got to be another reason. Read between the lines. A lot of people were like, well, it's because DeSean Jackson wants more money, right? He wants more money. That's the real reason why DeSean Jackson and Chip Kelly and Howie Roseman are moving away from DeSean Jackson because he asked for more money. First of all, DeSean never asked for more money. He was asked a question of if he wanted more guaranteed money added onto his contract. Not more, but the money that he was owed guaranteed. He was asked that question. And look, any red-blooded American, let alone a football player, of course, is going to say yes. Doesn't mean he's going to get it. He can say he wants it. So does a player get cut for that? No, it doesn't make any sense, right? It's got to be another reason. Read between the lines. Another theory that was floated out there was that, Chip Kelly, he doesn't like small guys. He doesn't like tiny guys, and DeSean's a tiny receiver. He doesn't fit with the offense. Well, that's interesting. If that's the case, and Chip Kelly doesn't like small guys in his offense, answer this question. Why did they trade for Darren Sproles? Well, as the days go on, and the Eagles keep more and more silent due to just bad timing, all of a sudden the owners' meetings are creeping up around the corner, and the GM is going to have to talk to the media, and oh my God, that meeting on Wednesday, Chip Kelly is going to have to talk to the local reporters, the national media, and he was surrounded by all the media. So do you think the Eagles are going to set themselves up by failure by slapping Chip Kelly in front of the media and saying, so Chip, have you talked to DeSean Jackson? No, I have not. Well, why is that? They're not going to set Chip up for failure like that. So what does he do? He picks up the phone, has a quick one with DeSean, says, hey, keep yourself in shape, be ready for training camp, and I'll talk to you later. Click. DeSean posts a picture on Instagram. Just talk to Big Chip. Eagles fans rejoice. DeSean's saying, he talked to Big Chip. Look, that was just a move to make sure that the questions didn't get too difficult during the owners' meetings. That's all that was. And then boom, the NewJersey.com article hits. Hits like a ton of bricks. And I find it a little curious that it was NewJersey.com, which is based out of New Brunswick, New Jersey. It wasn't any of the Philadelphia media. Philadelphia media, man, they took a pounding. They took a pounding, especially after the Instagram photo by DeSean. Oh, everyone thought they were full of shit, that they were just making up unnamed sources. Unnamed sources who they would never disclose. Even though the Eagles weren't saying anything, they would never disclose those sources. I find it curious at the fact that it was New Jersey an outside media source that reported it. Now, whether that was by design, I don't know, but a few hours later, they cut ties with DeSean Jackson. That is a tough decision to make. But unfortunately, it's a necessary one. And if you think that DeSean Jackson hasn't been warned about his affiliations and the gang signs and who he hangs out with and what he does with his money, you don't think the Eagles have brought him in multiple times and said, look, you can't do this. We're paying you millions of dollars as an employee. You represent the organization. You can't be doing this. You're fooling yourself. Because they have. I mean, they warned him. And as much as I would love to say that the gang stuff is it and only it, look, I'm not going to sit here in front of you and pretend like I knew about this whole gang thing, because I didn't. I don't know that culture. I'm not from that culture. I'm not going to pretend to know any difference between the Bloods and the Crips, or even if you flash gang signs, even if I would even know what they mean. But I will say this, that there was certainly more to this story than just that. The Eagles have tried to warn DeSean about the company that he keeps. The Eagles have tried to steer DeSean away from that type of lifestyle. The Eagles have tried to protect DeSean from his own good. The Eagles have attempted to keep DeSean's name out of the media as best they can. And eventually, if you have somebody that does not heed your warning and listen to you, despite how many times you try to reach out to them and how many times you try to help them, constantly, in essence, spitting in your face by continuing to do the things that they do, eventually you have to cut ties. And one of the perfect examples that comes to mind, some of you were a little too young to remember this, but Chris Carter was drafted in the supplemental draft by Buddy Ryan, one of the most beloved coaches in Eagles history. And unfortunately, despite all of his talent and all the things he could do on the field, because he only caught touchdowns, he got into some off-the-field troubles, specifically with substance abuse. And the Eagles tried to steer him away from that. Buddy tried to do everything he could to straighten Chris Carter out. And no matter how many times they did it, no matter how many times they bailed him out of trouble, no matter how many times that they tried to help him with his addictions, there comes a point in time where, even though he was talented on the field, his off-the-field stuff was too much of a detriment to the locker room, to the organization, and they had to cut ties. And Chris Carter will be the first individual to tell you that Buddy Ryan releasing him was the single best thing that could have happened to him. Because fortunately enough, Chris Carter, that was an eye-opener for him. He turned his life around, and fortunately was able to continue on with the Minnesota Vikings to a Hall of Fame career. It is very unfortunate that could not be with the Philadelphia Eagles. But had it continued to be with the Philadelphia Eagles, who knows if we would be talking right now about the Chris Carter who is a Hall of Famer, or the Chris Carter, unfortunately, who fizzled out, got into some trouble, and ended up nothing but a unfortunate heap of wasted talent. And there's something else that I would like to comment on. And it's a sensitive issue, but it's rampant among Twitter right now, and on Facebook and on YouTube. And it's real easy. It's real easy just to throw it out there, mic drop, and then say, boom, argument done. How can you do this? A lot of people right now are taking a look at the DeSean Jackson release and saying, how in the world? It is inconceivable that you would keep an individual like Riley Cooper on this roster after doing the inexcusable act, and it was inexcusable, that he did in dropping a racial slur in public. How can you keep him? Not only keep him, but reward him with a new contract after the season, yet you release DeSean Jackson, who is worth twice the amount on the field as Riley Cooper, for what? Hanging out with some guys who maybe did some bad things, taking some Instagram photos. How can you release DeSean Jackson yet keep the racist? And that must mean that the Eagles themselves are racist, are bigoted, are stupid. And let me tell you something, this is the biggest amount of bullshit that I've ever heard spew out of somebody's mouth. Because right now we're going to do a little exercise, all right? We're going to do a little exercise. I'm going to do a little magic trick for you, all right? Nothing up my sleeves. Right now we are going to wipe the name off of the back of the player's jersey, and we are just going to call him Player X. Player X did something disgusting. Player X did something reprehensible. Player X did something that really in today's society has no place. Player X did something really inexcusable. Very sensitive to some people, as it should be. This is what Player X did. But Player X made a mistake. Player X didn't mean to get caught, but he got caught. And Player X was very sorry. And Player X was given a second opportunity by the Philadelphia Eagles. Name Player X. Now I know what you're thinking, EROCK. Player X is Riley Cooper. That's where you're wrong. Player X is Michael Vick. Player X is a African American ex-felon. I'll repeat it again. Player X is an African American ex-felon who, when he got out of jail, no team wanted to touch because of the public relations nightmare that was to follow, except for the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles stood up for Michael Vick. The Philadelphia Eagles brought on Michael Vick. The Philadelphia Eagles were entrusted on Michael Vick because Michael Vick deserved a second chance. Just like Riley Cooper deserved a second chance. Now, it is real easy to play that race card. But before you do, and before you make yourself look incredibly stupid, remember, you heard it here, that DeSean Jackson was warned plenty of times about his off-the-field activity and asked to knock it off. If DeSean Jackson decides to not listen or do whatever he wants, then that's on DeSean Jackson. That's not on the Philadelphia Eagles. Look, let's wrap this thing up, all right? Because it's been a long day for all of us. It was a difficult decision, but it was one a long time coming. I can't say whether the New Jersey report is accurate. NewJersey.com report was accurate. What I can say is that there's probably more to this story. And now that the floodgates have opened and the Eagles aren't receiving any compensation for DeSean's exit, chances are you're going to hear a few more things. And if you take the NewJersey.com article and you take whatever reports are also leaked out as a result of it, chances are that what we hear is half of this entire story. It has to be. Read between the lines. Because you don't get rid of that caliber of player without good reason. And as always, as it always will be, now and moving forward into the future, no matter who the coach is, no matter who the GM is, no matter how talented the player in question is, it'll always be more about the wings on the helmet than it is the name on the back of the jersey. Always. I'll see you around.